Now we'll wipe away the excess glue and saw the dowels flush. From here, we can screw in the hinge like normal. Here's a convenient way to help cut tape while packing up boxes. We'll use a small piece of the snap-off blade and tape it to the back of our thumb. Now we can easily cut the tape while packaging our boxes. We can apply some double-sided tape to this hammer to keep these small nails in place and to prevent us from hurting our fingers. Just stick the nail onto the double-sided tape and hammer it in. Our next project will be making a DIY drill bit. We'll fasten these 5 wood screws into this vise and then shave off the heads using an angle grinder. Next, we'll hold all of the screws together with a zip tie. Attach it into the drill, and now we can drill holes into wood. Sometimes we need to install wire clips in difficult places. Instead of using a hammer, we can use this wood clamp to drive the nail into the wood. Now let's make a sanding drum drill bit out of some PVC pipe. We'll cut 2 pieces of the same length. On one piece, we'll cut it down the middle and wrap sandpaper around the outside. Then we'll push the other piece inside to secure the sandpaper. Next, we'll attach a bolt with washers on each side. Now we can attach it to our drill to make sanding a little bit easier. We can take this angle grinder disc and cut it into a few smaller discs for our rotary tool. We'll insert a small bolt through the center and attach it to the bit that connects to our rotary tool. Now we can make some incisions into this PVC pipe to create a little holster for our tools. With these 2 pieces of wood, we can mark out a square notch. Now we can mount a bracket to one end with some screws. We'll then attach our handle to this piece of MDF. This will help us hold our pieces in place while we drill holes. We can unwind this thick wire rope by first cutting it, then attaching it to our drill. Secure the wire into a vise and drill it in the opposite direction to separate the strands. We can then shave down one side of this bolt and drill a few holes through its center. We'll add some nuts and then one of our wire strands into each hole. Separate the strands on each wire. And now we can use this as a drill bit to clean the inside of this pipe. By fastening this hacksaw blade over some washers, we can use it to help us cleanly tear off smaller pieces of sandpaper. If you need to hide screws, a good way to do it is by first drilling a pilot hole and then use a spade bit to drill a larger hole. Now install the screw and fill the hole with wood glue. Next, we'll seal it with a large dowel with the same type of wood. When drilling holes normally, sometimes the edges around the hole will start to chip. If we start our holes by putting the drill in reverse, this will remove enough wood on the top layer to not chip away the surface. Then, we can drill the holes normally for a clean finish. Want to add some color to these Christmas lights? We can use these straws to help. just insert the lights into the straws and cut the straws to the appropriate length. So sit back, relax, and let's start building. We're starting out by building a drill bit to help us clean our keyboards. We'll hot glue the head of a toothbrush to this bottle cap like so, and then attach it to the chuck of our drill. Now we can use the drill to help us brush away any loose dirt and debris from our keyboard. Let's convert our angle grinder into a circular saw. Screw in a large T-shaped door hinge to one end of this MDF. Then we'll attach the angle grinder to the long lever of the door hinge and make a slit in the MDF. Now we can use it just like a circular saw. We can use wing nuts as wire clips. We can pin these two sheets together with just a couple of zip ties and a couple of washers. Pass the first zip tie through the hole with a washer on both ends. Then use the second zip tie to fasten everything together. And lastly, just clip off the ends of the zip ties. Carrying large sheets of plywood is difficult and awkward. We can make a tool that can help us out. We'll solder this rebar together into a shape that looks like this. Then we'll add plastic tubing around the rebar for extra grip. We can see here how an expansion anchor works from the inside. Next, let's make an LED light that turns on when plugged into a USB outlet. First, we'll take a capacitor and solder it onto the USB plug. Then we'll solder on an LED light. Now we can plug in our light into our laptop or into a power adapter. Is there an easy way we can solve this equation if we don't happen to have a calculator? We can use this tape measure. Find the number we need and then fold the tape back on itself. We can even mark it in case we forget. Here's a helpful way to secure a chain to the stud by passing a bolt through the center. We'll need to add an adapter fitting to stop this faucet from leaking. First, we'll remove the faucet. Then, we'll add an extra metal fitting that we can safely heat up. Now we can use pliers to pull out the old fitting. We'll then use a pipe welding machine to make sure the new fitting fits nicely. Lastly, we'll screw our faucet back on. Now there's no more leaking. We can attach these razors to this comb with a binder clip and run it over our sweaters to remove any fabric pilling. Here's how we can cut this wood to fit this pipe through. Trace the pipe's circumference and then find its center. Now we can use a hole saw drill bit to cut out that circle. Our next project, we'll be making a little table using nothing but MDF and a router. Screw the board in place and then turn it to make perfectly round cuts. Now we'll cut the two legs so that they fit together. Then screw the tabletop onto the legs. It's that easy. We can round off these corners by first cutting a separate board in the shape that we want. And then we can use a special drill bit to trace along that board. We can turn these washers into a clip to hold rope together. Cut a notch out of the washers and pass a bolt through them. Wrap the first rope around the bolt and pass the other rope through the washers. Looks like this wrench isn't big enough to help us unscrew this cap. Let's use some rope and a square dowel instead. For our last project, we'll be making a miter joint with a thick spline in the center. We'll start by gluing two pieces together, cut at a 45-degree angle. Then we'll mark out where our spline will be using a pencil and a marking gauge. Saw out this area that we've marked out. And we can remove the rest of the wood using a chisel. Glue the spline into the space we've cut out. After it dries, cut off the excess wood. Then we'll sand everything to a smooth finish. Now just add varnish to seal the wood.